Okay, here we go. And welcome to another Colin Crandall MMA Power Hour interview. So excited to have this next guest back on the show, coming off an amazing knockout win as the underdog against Bryce Mitchell in the last UFC, or a couple UFCs back. None other than the amazing Mr. Josh Emmett. Welcome back to the show, Josh.
Well, it's great to be here. How you doing?
Doing pretty well, man. Doing pretty well. I wish I was right behind the bay there, although you're actually probably not that far from
Yeah,
that
like
bridge, I imagine.
90 minutes, 90 minutes.
Nice, very nice. And it's probably looking kind of like that now, a little cold with the kind of the fall sun in the setting in the background, right?
Yeah, for sure. Northern California, man, it's cold. It's like this morning it was 32 degrees outside. And so it is cold. And my wife and I, we just got back. We went to San Diego last weekend, and I'm like, oh, it's so nice down there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
weather is phenomenal. So I
yeah.
miss it.
Absolutely. A lot of people don't realize how cold it can get in Northern California. But you know what the funny thing is, even though it's warmer, like I'm in Los Angeles, so it's not quite as nice as San Diego here, but it's warmer than NorCal. And but people just don't seem to know how cold it gets where you are. And I think they also think it's more like Florida or Hawaii here, because
Yeah.
even though we're not usually seeing 32, we're seeing like 45, 43, 42. And a lot of people think that that's not what we get, that we're always at 75 or 80 or 68. And but I think on the other end of the spectrum, Arizona is nice, but I'm just thinking, man, I don't know how I could stand it being like 100 degrees at midnight as it
Yeah.
stays over there in the summer. That would kind of be sick on the other side, in a bad way sick, don't you think?
That would be tough, and it is different because even like I have a lot of family from the Midwest and Illinois and Chicago area, and so like they just think that California, like we're always at the beach and stuff surfing. I'm like, no, it's cold here, and I'm a few hours from the beach, and I wouldn't go swim or surf in the bay. You need a super thick wetsuit. You know what I mean?
Oh
It's
yeah.
freezing.
Oh yeah. Speaking about football, who's your team? You a Niners fan, or what's your
Raiders,
team?
Raiders.
Raiders. There we go. And
You a
I will
Rams
tell you,
fan?
I'm originally born and raised in Michigan, man. So my
Okay,
team, Detroit Lions.
the
I
Lions.
I will tell you this, man. I don't know if you know. I think you do. My wife passed away in September after a 2-year battle with cancer, and
Sorry.
that was very sad. But she would cheer for my Lions, even though she was from Minnesota, and she would always support me. And every year I talked the Lions up out here in LA, and every year I'd look stupid, and she would say, "Don't give up. Your guys aren't a good team, but don't give up." And ironically, literally, the season started, I think, a couple days after she passed away, and we had the best season we've had. We won with a conference, first time for the division for the first time in 40 years.
40 years.
And yeah, it's absolutely insane. So in your lifetime, this is the first time the Lions are hosting the first playoff game. Now, it used to be that we would have got a bye week and the
Mhm.
wild cards get guys fight it out. And that's what I was thinking as kind of little bit of an older guy. But my friend said, no, they added another game. So only one team gets to sit out, the team with the best record. So the Lions are playing Sunday, but we got the Rams, and I'm in LA cheering for the Lions, right? So I wish I was a fighter like yourself. So in case anyone started anything, you could catch them with something. But if I try that, I'd probably miss and throw my shoulder out, unfortunately. So
Are you going to actually go to the game then?
I'm not. I wish. I just, I don't have much family back there, and those that I do are older than me, and so no one's a real fan. And so I would have been probably staying at a hotel and going back to Detroit
Yeah.
and paying $2,000
But-
for a ticket, and
And the
five.
weather, the winter, you don't want to be there right now too,
No,
right?
no,
Yeah,
that
a
I
little
don't. That I
cold.
don't. But I'm telling
Yeah.
you what, I'm going to be cheering so hard, and it's just, I know my wife's up in heaven making it happen, with God first. And but man, if we win the Super Bowl, it's going to put a chill up my spine, because then I'll know for sure she's up there. But don't count them out. Detroit Lions are coming. I've said it for 40 years and been wrong. And I've got to be right at some time. The law
This
of
could be your
probability,
year.
right?
This could be your year.
Yes. So definitely, man, it's going to be great. Well, Josh, I tell you, that was an amazing performance in that last fight. You were always in a fight. Everyone knows your skill and your ability, but a lot of people are looking at these younger guys and saying, "Oh, they're just too good for the veterans," and like that. And not that you're an old guy because you're not, but that was an amazing fight that people felt was not going to go that way. And looking back on it, I think to myself, Josh is the better wrestler. Josh is the better striker. What was making odds makers and so many people feel that that wasn't going to amount to a victory? And I think they just figured a lot of these jiu-jitsu guys are coming in and figuring it out and putting it on the wrestlers, getting on top, and then the wrestlers don't like to be on their back. The wrestler makes a mistake and gets subbed. Did you do extra training for jiu-jitsu? Did you do anything different for this camp? Was there any thought in your mind where the people say, "Oh man, Bryce Mitchell, this is where he gets his revenge. This is where Mitchell's going to go out there and just submit Josh Emmett and move on, and that's going to be the plan." What were your thoughts? Because I'm sure you were hearing some of that. I know you don't look at internet too much, but were you seeing that? And what was your thoughts going into that? And what was your camp like and about?
Yeah, it's you know my camp. I train everything. I'm so well rounded everywhere. Yeah, so I'd say like of course, yeah, I was going to fight Giga Chikadze, a world class kickboxer and
Right.
strike. So I was I had to adjust things on the fly 2 weeks out. Then it got switched to a world class grappler in Bryce Mitchell, and he's a really high level black belt. So, but his main position is on top. He has phenomenal top pressure. He's like a wet blanket. He gets on top of someone. It's really hard to get him off or move or get back to your feet. So we just. But I work with some of Chris Holdsworth is one of the best jujitsu practitioners out there. And he comes from he fought at the highest level as well. Won the Ultimate Fighter, subbed everyone, was undefeated in the UFC. I work with his black belt, one of his only black belts, Louis. He's so good. So and my jujitsu is really good. I made one mistake in my career, and I got caught in a triangle by Yair. That will never happen again. I told everyone when I went into jiu-jitsu, I said, anyone submits me, every time someone submits me, I'm paying you $100 cash every single time. I haven't had
Nice.
to I haven't had to pull out $100 yet.
Nice.
So I just got caught. I didn't respect or not didn't respect, but I didn't address the triangle in the second round. He did the same thing in the first round, and you can see I just passed it by. I addressed it and immediately passed it by. I didn't address it at all in the second round when he threw up the exact same thing. I heard the clapper. I thought the end of the round was coming. And then by the time he adjusted, it was too late. So I made a huge mistake there, which that will not ever happen again. Um,
I believe it.
but I train everything. I'm very well rounded everywhere. People haven't got to see my jujitsu and my grappling yet in the UFC. I used to always take everyone down. I'll TKO them or submit them on the regional scene. And while I've got to the UFC, I know what the people want to see, and it's these highlight reel knockouts, and that's what's propelled me to where I'm at as fast as it did. My ultimate goal is to become world champion. I want to get back there. So I'm doing whatever it takes to get back to a title shot. And I believe 2024 is going to be my year as well. I want to fight anyone that's going to get me there. I would like to fight Max Holloway. He's the number one contender. So give me the toughest fight to get me to the title. That's a clear path there. He's fought everyone in the division. Except me. He was a phenomenal champion. He's a great person. He's one of the best. So you have to beat the best in order to be the best, and that's my mindset moving forward.
Absolutely. Very well said. And it looks like they have you at number 5, at least on one of the rankings that I'm looking at. So that means above you is only Volk, Holloway, Yair, and Topuria. And so I know definitely you would be happy to get your hands on any of them. You know what I was thinking that I wanted to ask you? I think some people thought that your fight with Bryce might look kind of like a fight about a month ago with Sean Brady and Kelvin Gastelum. And I remember some people on that one were kind of leaning the wrestler. They were saying, Brady's not going to threaten Gastelum wrestling at all. Gastelum's a way more better, a more decorated wrestler. Gastelum hits harder. Brady's in trouble and he's about to get smashed again, like he did, against Bilal. And it's just, I don't know. To me, I think the weight, that 170, is really hard for Kelvin Gastelum, because to me, it looked like he just didn't have the hydration to do anything, because he made Brady look like the superior wrestler, and Brady kept taking him down, and Kelvin wasn't hitting him with anything. And I think probably Mitchell may have had that same thought in the game plan with you. All I got to do is what Sean Brady just did to Kelvin Gastelum: rinse and repeat, keep on taking this guy down, keep on threatening with submissions. Why do you think that did not happen in your fight? And why do you think that did happen in the Gastelum Brady fight?
And it's, I don't know, because yeah, I thought Bryce too was going to come out and just initially just start, shooting for takedowns, and that's what we expected. But then he actually came out, and he fights southpaw. He came out fighting me orthodox, and I thought that was really odd. I was just waiting. I'm like, I was gonna, as soon as he was gonna jab me, I was gonna come over the top with that overhand, or as soon as he threw a straight cross, I was gonna split it and come over the top with the overhand right too. And I just waited, and I thought that was different. That he didn't come out looking to get the takedown, and he came out fighting me, orthodox. Um, and the tough thing about this sport is it's like I don't know what Gaslam was going through. It's like maybe like you said, maybe he didn't feel like he like hydrated properly. Maybe he had a tough cut. Maybe he just wasn't on. And that's the unfortunate thing about our sport. It's no matter what, like we have to be on in that moment. It's not like basketball or other like, baseball or football where you can kind of redeem yourself the next week, or maybe in a few days you can redeem yourself. It's like, damn, the next time I'm going to fight is going to be 3 to 4 months or even longer for some of these guys. So if it's tough because we have to be on. There's so many times where I've been in the back, and it's just like it just wasn't my day. I did not feel like fighting. I didn't want to be at the arena, but it's like I'm there. I'm at work. And then as I'm walking out in the tunnel, I'm like telling myself, you better do something. You're about to get into a fight. But it just happens like that way. And then I obviously, as we get in the fight, and the ref's like, are you ready? Yes, fight. It's you kind of have to, but sometimes you're on, and sometimes you aren't. So it's hard for me to. I don't know what was going through any of those guys' head, but it's just it's a wild sport. It's a
Yeah.
wild like what we go through and what fighters go through.
Yeah, absolutely. I was interviewing Stitch Duran, the legendary cut man, and they're making a movie out of his life. It's going to be amazing. They're going to probably get it out somewhere this year. So many big fighting stars in boxing and MMA are there. You got to look out for that. And it's based on his books, From the Fields to the Garden, where he started out as a migrant farm worker in the fields, and then he's working Champions Corner in Madison Square Garden. Great book. And why I mentioned him is I asked him, why did we see Francis Ngannou look that good? Ngannou look that good against Tyson Fury. And I know everyone's saying, "Oh, Tyson Fury didn't train, blah blah blah." You don't not train for a fight, right? Maybe you're not training that hard, but it still, wouldn't have mattered. It wasn't like Tyson Fury was 300 pounds. And he said an interesting thing. He said, and he knows boxing and MMA. He's been in corners of hundreds, thousands of boxers, and probably hundreds and hundreds of MMA fighters, if not thousands. And he said the difference kind of is, he said, the ability to take pain. He said the boxers are like here and MMA fighters are like here. And he said, so that intensity and the Francis just not being that disturbed by being punched,
Mhm.
because no one's kicking his legs, no one's elbowing him, no one's, choking him. He said it just, you could see that mental strength and ability to take that pain in Francis, where like he wasn't bothered at all in what Tyson Fury was doing, but yet he started putting pressure and putting some pain on Fury. Fury went down. No shade on Tyson Fury, but and I think that makes sense, because really I've said from the beginning, and I've been following the sport from the first UFC, and before then seeing the Vale Tudo, Gracie Jiu Jitsu and action tapes, and it's true. You guys are really the like the Ultimate Fighter series. You guys are the Ultimate Fighter. This is the ultimate chess match, and you guys are the two true real fighters. Because the pain, it's crazy. The conditioning you guys have to have, and the mental strength, I think, is really something important. And I think that's a big part of MMA. But I think also, like you said, if you're dehydrated, if you have a bad cut, and you're not feeling good, that can sometimes cancel some of the great mental strength and ability you have to take pain, can it?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like it's so unpredictable, this sport, and it's like you say that it's I even like bare knuckle boxing. A lot of people do that, and people are like, "Oh, that's so crazy. Would you ever do that?" I said, "Yeah, I would much rather do that
Right. Yeah.
because it's like I would much rather get hit by your bare knuckle and only have to worry about your two fists coming from a handful of different angles. It just looks more brutal because it's hitting your skin and you cut easier. You maybe swell, but it's like I would much rather get hit by someone's bare fist than an elbow or a shin to the head or a knee to the nose, you know?
Yes.
And then when I say that and they think about it, they're like, "Oh yeah, you are right." Like it's and we don't have to worry about takedowns. We're not getting kicked. It's and then maybe Ngannou, he probably got hit by Tyson, and Tyson can crack. He can hit hard. But I'm saying he probably got hit. And what would they fight with? Did they fight with 14s or 12s or
I think 12, 10 or 12 ounce
well,
gloves. Yeah.
yeah, 12s and so it's like maybe this isn't that bad, you know what I mean? And then he just kind of puts it on and he has that mental fortitude and he has the experience, and we're fighting people, hitting him as hard as we can with a 4 ounce glove, but I swear the padding on the knuckle is like an ounce or two. And it's just different. So because and but it's different too when I go in and I spar a lot of pro boxers. It's their snap and their punching, like their power is different too. So I can go spar these guys with 16s and it's just punches and bunches. They're hitting hard. It's a different type of power that I feel. Then when I get in and I fight like an MMA guy and they're throwing 1 to 2, maybe 3 punches max in a combo, I feel like the snap isn't as much. So for me, it's like I feel like the box was kind of hit harder, but for whatever, maybe just Ngannou having the experience and everything he's gone through, he was just on that night. Like I said, we don't know what Fury was going through or whatnot, but I thought Francis he fought really well. I thought he had won the fight, and I think he did really well for the MMA community because I know we've had a lot of former people that have retired from MMA and they go in and they're fighting these celebrity boxing matches and things like that, but they're so we haven't had the best representation, I guess you could say. But
Right.
he did really well, and now he's going to fight Anthony Joshua. I think that's going to be a great fight, and I'm excited to watch that. And I think he could pull it off.
Yeah, I think you should too. That would be really, really fantastic. And I think it's great because it's making the MMA community look great, whereas a lot of our guys jumping into these celebrity fights who are way past their prime we're not making MMA look great. So I like this. I think that definitely. And Francis is a good dude. When he beat Cyril Gahn, I was right there in press row asking him some good questions. He's a really good dude. Francis is a solid guy. But yeah, bare knuckles. I remember when I was talking to my buddy Chris Lytle, who was the commentator and former UFC fighter, 6-time fight of the night bonus winner. And he said, because I think he retired when he was about 35 or 36 from the UFC. And then he had a bare knuckles fight in England. Then he had a couple of fights in BKFC before he became a commentator. And he said, man, the training, he said, so much easier than an MMA training camp. He said, I do this every day, because it's so much easier. Because, yeah, it's just not all the grueling stuff that you guys do. The one thing that the grueling training that you guys do, though, which is a benefit to how great you guys look, is all that core training. And you wrestled growing up. So it's like a lot of people wonder, they'll say, how does this guy look that great, whether he's 25, but how does that look like a guy that great when he's 30 and when he's 35 and when he's 38, 39? And how does this guy look so much better than guys that are 25? And I think it's just that wrestling and that grappling and then this MMA training. You got to be, not everyone's as lean and shredded, but it's such a grueling training that it really does keep you really strong and looking, really, really fit, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I feel like it's a foundation, at least for me, my entire life. I started doing acrobatics and tumbling when I was like 5 years old.
Oh,
So I
wow.
come from that was like my foundation, and then I played every single sport growing up, and then I got into wrestling in like seventh grade, and I excelled at that. But I still played baseball, football, and wrestled, and then really found success in high school. So my junior senior year, I stopped playing football and I just focused on wrestling and lifting weights and stuff like that. But yeah, it's different and it's discipline. Like for me, it's I am, any of my friends or family will tell you I'm the most disciplined and determined person they've ever met. Like when I have a goal set in front of me or I want something, I'm like, I'm obsessed with it. And I like, I don't stop until I get it. And it's literally like, I almost treat, my diet and my training and my career, because I have, like, I wrestled in college. I wasn't doing the right things. And I do have a lot of regrets because I was like, the reason why I wasn't a national champion because I was partying during the season and doing just not the right stuff. And so
Right.
that's why I'm all in on fighting. And I've been doing this for, well over a decade. And I wanted to get to the UFC. I want to become world champion. Um, and so now it's even more so. So I almost treat it as like an addict would, or an alcoholic. It's like I wake up every single day and I'm like, I'm going to be perfect today. And then that transfers over into my every meal. I'm going to eat perfect. Every practice, I'm going to be perfect. And I do that multiple times a day, and then I reset the next day. I'm going to be perfect today. And I do that for 10 to 12 weeks straight. I don't cheat the system. I don't like I'm not eating things I'm not supposed to. I do all the extra work. I work on recovery. I work on sleep, like everything. I'm all in. I miss a lot of things because I have to be selfish in these times, just because, I'm not going to be able to fight forever. The end will, the end will come. And so I want to maximize this. And, I'm putting my entire life since I was like 4 or 5 years old. It's the foundation I've created. And I have like the best team around me, with coaches to dietitians to just everyone that's there to support me, and management and stuff like that. Yeah, so I feel like I owe it to all of them because they're putting in so much time and effort into me. So how can I cheat the process, or how can I do something that is gonna, you know, screw up what we're all trying to achieve? That's kind of my mindset.
I like that. Discipline and accountability. Those are very, very important things. It looks like over at Team Alpha Male, where you've stayed loyal to the whole time. I remember when you had your first couple fights and Uriah Faber would be in there talking about you and another fight, and people, he'd say, "That's Josh Emmett. We got Josh Emmett here, and he's an amazing killer." I remember he'd say, "This guy is a monster," and so then we started to see it, and it's true. Other than you now, it seems like you got a few guys doing some good stuff. I think Song Yadong is going to be the most prominent guy other than you up there now, or am I leaving someone else out that's like in the top 10?
Well, there's a handful of people. We have Yan. She's fighting Willie Zhang for the title. Is that at UFC 300? It is,
I
right?
think it might be. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
battle
yeah.
of China.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's
So
going to be
she's there,
brutal.
but I feel like there's so many talented to fighters, but at the top of the crop, I'd say Song and Andre's been around for a long time friend and training partner
Right.
of mine. There's so many great guys, and we have some up and comers that they're not on the scene yet, but we have multiple guys that are fighting in other organizations that they could beat guys right now in the UFC, and they'll be here shortly. So I'm excited for the next generation of fighters.
Absolutely. Do you ever think, and I think I may have asked you this years ago, I forgot the answer. Do you think that when you're done, you're going to be part of the coaching staff there or start your own gym, or what's your thought on that?
Yeah, like I used to own a CrossFit gym and stuff in Sacramento, and there's a lot of like work and stuff. Like you're always working, it's tough. But as far as coaching, I always give back when I can. I'll go into the high school and help out, or my junior college, stuff like that, or when they ask me to come speak. But it's something that I would definitely lend a helping hand if someone asked me. But I wouldn't open an MMA gym just because it's like I'm from Sacramento. Team Alpha Male is, the best gym in the world for the lighter weights. It's in my backyard, my hometown. So it's like I wouldn't want to try to compete with that. But yeah, I'll definitely be around helping out when I can. That's for sure.
Fantastic. Do you have an out date? Are you a big numbers guy? Are you like 2026, I'm done, or age 41, I'm done? Or do you really kind of just feel like depending on how things break, that'll dictate what you're doing, or as long as you feel good?
Yeah, probably as long as I feel good. I guess I could have been a numbers guy when I got into the sport and had my first amateur fight when I was 26 years old. I used to always say like, I wouldn't be fighting in my 40s, but I'm about to be 39 and yeah, in a few months. So, but I feel great. I take great care of my body. A lot of people are like, you don't look or fight like you're 39 years old or 38 years old right
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
So I do feel like age is just a number, and a lot of these fighters, even though they're in heavier weight classes, they were winning gold at in their early 40s, like Glover Teixeira, Randy Couture, like a lot of these guys, and it's like they do give me hope, but I feel fast still, I feel great, so I'm gonna keep on fighting until I wanna call it quits and maybe pursue some other ventures or something like that. But I'm just trying to maximize this time and try to, build my brand as much as I possibly can and, invest my money wisely and do all these type of things so I can set up my family and future for success when it is all
Absolutely.
done.
Absolutely. Sorry to interrupt you. Do you look at some of your biggest victories, and in your mind, do you remember which made you the most happy and which were the most satisfying? If so, which were they, and how did the Mitchell victory fit in among those?
Yeah, it would be tough. I'd have to say my UFC debut has to be up there like that because this was a goal of mine. Like when I've been a fan of the sport for so long, and I've told you this. Like my best friend and I were watching pay-per-views back in '99 when I was a freshman in high school, when they had 1 to 2 pay-per-views a year. I
Yep.
always thought I could do it. I was always a fan of it. After my second year at a junior college, I in 2005, I went into Uriah's gym because I was like, I want to try this. I want to train and stuff like that. I've been doing this for a long time, been a fan of the sport forever. When I actually did come back into the gym after I went down to Menlo College and got my degree and wrestled at the 4 year level, I came back in 2010 and picked up where I left off and said I want to fight. I did a few amateur fights, but when I was one and zero as a pro, I kept saying I only want to fight in the UFC, and so it was a long, long, hard road to get there. But after after like 6 years, I almost got on the Ultimate Fighter a few times. I almost got into the UFC a few times, but I finally got there on a short notice flight, and that was just it was a memory, and it that like I'll always remember it. It was the most fun. Just how I got it. I got a call on a 4 or 5 day notice to fight in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. So
Mm.
I went home, packed my bags, flew across the world, cut some weight and beat a tough guy on a 4 day notice, and that kicked off my my journey in the UFC. And I was fighting up a weight class, 155 as well, because I was a champion on the regional scene at 55s. And if I got into the UFC, I knew it was either going to be on a short notice like that or the Ultimate Fighter. So there's no way I could have made featherweight on a 4 day notice. So that was just such a fun time because I had a handful of friends and family go over there, and then that kind of kicked off our my wife and I's like travel journey. After that we really never been out of the country. So we went to a train station and we asked the lady like, where's somewhere fun we should go, and she said Berlin's fun. So we hopped on a train and drove and took a train ride for 5 hours to Berlin. We checked that out, and then we went to Amsterdam and just had a blast. Just kind of opened my mind and just diving into different cultures, and it was so fun. And that's where we're like obsessed with traveling now. So we always do these big trips and stuff after fights, and it's just a passion of ours. And so that'd probably be the the biggest moment in my UFC career. And then yeah, the Bryce Mitchell fight. It's just like any other fight. It didn't. I wasn't like, it just felt like any other day. I just clocked in, clocked out. Got to enjoy time with my friends and family. So it seemed like a lot of other fights. Yeah, but I'd say the debut is like the most memorable. Second one would have to be the Lamas fight when I took that on short notice. He was ranked number 3 in the world at the time. I took it. It was my second fight at featherweight in the UFC. Short notice fight. Went out there, knocked him out bad in the first round, and so that catapulted me to the top 3 in the world. So that would be the second one. Other than that, they're all the same.
Excellent. Yeah, the short notice victories are great. With Volk trying that short notice 10 days fight up a weight class against Islam. I mean, in looking at it prior, everyone's like, Volk can do anything. He really kind of beat Islam without getting the judge's decision, in a lot of people's opinion, in the first fight. So I think everyone was saying, hey, he'll be the exact same guy in the first fight with a full camp. No reason to think not. And I think that's not true. I'm sure you probably were looking at that factor, thinking this is 10 days notice, maybe wasn't the wisest choice. Was that pretty much the whole reason? Not trying to take anything away from Islam, but it seemed like his timing just seemed off from the get-go. And it seems like he didn't think about any kicks. He's fighting a guy who's a lot taller than him. I know you fight guys that are taller too, but was it the short notice? And should Volk, I mean, in retrospect, he shouldn't have taken that fight, but did he have a chance in that fight, or do you think was it overall just something that probably looking back on it, his team wouldn't have taken?
Yeah, no, it's hard to say just because, yeah, like in hindsight now it's like, oh, he shouldn't have done. But what if he went out there, knocked him out, and won it? Then everyone would be like, ah, it's like it's so hard. That's why this sport is so like unpredictable and unforgiving, and it's yeah, I don't know. I think Islam was training hard, and like you said, even in the first bit going over to when he fought over in Australia, it's like that was Volk's like home advantage. I was on that card, and I'm telling you, that was tough. Like biggest fight of my life. It was hard. Like
Yeah.
just with everything, like the climate. It was winter here in Northern California, summer there,
Mhm.
humid. The commission there, we could only weigh in 24 hours before we fight. So typically we get like 36 hours to rehydrate and do all these things. It was like 24 hours or less. Like that was horrible. I would never fight there again, me personally, in Australia.
Yeah.
And just the time change, all this stuff. So maybe he had some issues in that fight and he wasn't on, you know what I mean? When Volk was on, and then it's now their second fight was that in Dubai?
I think it was, or Abu Dhabi. Yeah. And
Yeah, Abu Dhabi. Yeah,
yeah.
Abu Dhabi. So it's like he's close to, Islam. Maybe that's his hometown advantage. He's training not too far. He's probably out in Dubai or Abu Dhabi early. He knows everyone. He has access to everything there. So it's like he's on now. And so who knows? I'm telling you that even a little bit of like going to the Midwest, even if I'm not fighting, I'm just going to go visit some family. The 2 hours screws with me. Let up the East Coast is more so, and then traveling elsewhere in the world when they're like 18 hours ahead, and it's like it is tough. And then especially you incorporate fighting into that, and then we have to cut the weight, we have to perform at a certain level or expectation, and then with all those other factors that I was talking about, like certain things, it's like you're not accustomed to the same food or diet, or you don't have access to this or that, and then it's like maybe you're not on that day. It's just a wild thing. So there's so many things that play into these fights that I don't think people really know about. They just think we show up and fight. Not saying you, but just people in
Right.
general.
Yeah.
You're there at the fights, you understand, but it's yeah, it's just there's so many factors that go into this, and it's just like yeah, it's so
A
much
lot
stuff.
involved,
It's
a lot
good.
more than meets the eye.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. Do you think that loss is going to cause Volk problems with Topuria? And then do you think Topuria has the skills to win? So kind of a twofold question. A, that loss could cause problems, do you think, for Volk as far as attitude and confidence coming into this fight with Topuria? And B, how do you think that fight unfolds?
Yeah, no, I don't think Volkanovski is he's a champion for a reason. You know what I mean? He's a good guy in and outside of the octagon, and he has the right, like he has a good head on his shoulders. So he has a solid mindset and a self belief, and I don't think it really affects him. I don't think it affects him. As far as the previous fight that he had against Islam. As far as Ilya's, he's really confident, because he hasn't tasted defeat. So it's like I like when I was about to fight him, I know what it feels like to be in his shoes and like how you feel invincible and stuff like that. But he is good. Ilya is good. He's fast. He's a good boxer, really well rounded. That's a fight I want back bad. Like I
Yep.
want to fight him in Vegas. I want that back. So it's like, could he win? Of course. Like I can argue how both these guys win. But it's a fight I'm excited to watch. I hope I can be there and watching that cage side. It's Anaheim, right? I believe
I
that
believe
fight.
so. I believe
Yeah.
so. And that's really near me. I've had a lot going on since my wife passed away, handling her uh affairs and everything like that. And so I'm kind of lost track, but I should get on that because if it's there, I'll definitely be there in press row. And that I almost think that I'm ashamed to say I don't know, and I'm saying it live on camera, but I've had my mind elsewhere. But I
Yeah.
think so. Do you ever come down south? Would you be trying to attend that in LA, or do you never get
Oh
here
yeah.
that often?
No, I definitely want to go. Uh, I'll probably be a guest fighter at that. My wife and I are going on a trip in a few weeks, so then that's why I had this like trip planned and certain things. So that's why I was fighting on, the December 16th, no matter who they put in front of me, because
Right.
I had so many things kind of going on. But yeah, I want to make it to that fight, and it's like it's going to be a competitive fight. Both great fighters, both at the top of their game. It is going to be an exciting fight, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, me too. I know we got 3 minutes here left, and we've gone a little bit longer than we talked about. I appreciate that that you did that. Hope you don't mind.
No, it's good.
I appreciate it. So we'll wrap it up here with the next 3 minutes. The fighters ranked above you, are these the only fights you will take, or would you fight someone one or two spots below you if they offered that?
I would like to just fight people in front of me. I want to I want to be a world champion. I want to get back to that title. Fighting people behind me does nothing. It's just high risk, no reward at all.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's like I was gonna fight Giga because he was supposedly the only person available, and I wanted to like I had a goal of getting 3 fights in at the beginning of 2023. I'm like I'm fighting 3 times this year, and that was the only person available. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then my opponent got changed up on 2 week notice, but yeah, I want to fight people in front of me. Like that's what it comes down to because I want to get back to the title shot.
Absolutely. I'd love to see that. And I know you have it in you. 2.5 minutes left to go. Let people know where they can find you on social media. I think you've got a website, and I think you've got merch and you've got products. Let us know if you can give us like a minute and a half soundbite or something like that. 2 minutes. Love to hear it.
Yeah. They can go to joshemmett.com. I have all my social media platforms on there, all my merch, um, all the companies that support me. It's a lot of articles too. It's like a time capsule. My buddy uh, runs my runs my website, and anything that's articles on me, it's put onto my website. Yeah, so I just started a YouTube channel as well. I'm trying to kind of grow my brand, like I said, and just kind of put out some cool content with like stuff that I'm really passionate about. So of course, fighting is on there, and then it's going to be traveling. It's going to be like NFTs and crypto, and doing some like a food series as well. Some like really nice restaurants. So it's like kind of like fine dining and like really just enjoying a culinary experience, not just going to some little shack and getting fat, eating some fast food type of thing.
Absolutely. Love to see that, man. Well, you've got the energy, you've got the charisma, the personality. I think you can be really successful. And with your mindset, you can do anything. And I admire you guys a lot to be at the high level of fighting where thousands and probably millions of people wish they were there. Shows that you guys got something special. You're an amazing guy, Josh Emmett. I always appreciate you so much. Always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for jumping on again with me here in the MMA Power Hour.
Cool. It was nice to talk to you, Colin, and good luck this weekend with your Lions. I wish you
Absolutely. Detroit, go Lions.
the
Take
best.
care. Thanks so much, Josh Emmett. Have a great one. Everyone else, we'll see you soon for Colin Crandall MMA Power Hour. The man, Josh Emmett, and we'll catch up with you guys soon. Thanks again. Take care.
Take care.
Peace.